Welcome to Thru. We're going to show a simple demo of how Thru connects to Boomi using the Thru connector. We have a simple flow set up to demonstrate this. Let's look at the pickup flow to start with. So in this pickup flow, we have multiple source endpoints. These can act as locations for partners or the enterprise to drop off files to Thru, which can then be routed to Boomi for further processing or integration steps. We can see we have configured multiple organizations as sources using SFTP servers as drop-off points. These are then mapped to an iPaaS connector, which acts as a pickup point. If we look at this iPaaS flow endpoint, we can see the connection details that is used for the connector to call our API to pull the files that are waiting. If we go to Boomi and we look at the pickup, we can see this connector is doing a get, picking up files from the flow. We can look further into here, into the connection details, showing the API that it's calling and that site key, which is the unique value to call the platform. For example, we can search in the library for the connector, right? We can drop the connector here as an example. Maybe you want to do this at a different point, and then we can expose that, it's pretty much get, create, or update. We can upload files to these two partner endpoints. Let's do that in the background. So partner 1 is going to drop off a file with today's date, and let's also do partner 2 while we're here. Right, we can spawn another tab to show those files have arrived in the platform. So if we go here, we can see partner 1 dropped off a file to the partner 1 folder, and partner 2 has also dropped a file to their unique folder. We can see the target is iPaaS. We can see it's waiting for the connector to collect the file from us. If we then go over to Boomi, we can run this flow in a test configuration. Basically, the flow is going to call the platform, talk to that particular flow, pull down any waiting files. We are basically going to define a file name and write them out to a disk. This obviously could go to any other integration or application that the files need to be delivered to. We're also going to expose the metadata of the file as the files come in. So if we click test and we run this against my local Atom, you can see it's completed. The test has passed. Basically what's happened is we've called the application and we've called that unique transport and pulled down any waiting files. Then we can see the metadata exposed here. If we go and look at this, we can view the file code, the file name, which is partner 1. We turn on formatting, right? We can see the date, the time, the file name. We can also see the participant's code, the participant's name, and their endpoint type. And then on the way out, the file has been written to a local directory. Before we rerun this, right, we can go back to the platform and click apply. We can see that file has been consumed by Boomi. If we rerun this, we should pick up the second file. The file has been picked up by the connector. We then can again expose the details of that file. So this time it's partner 2. It's also being encrypted on the way in. And then finally, the file's been written out to a location. And if we go back to the platform and finally click refresh again, we can see the second file has also been delivered. So for the second part of the demo, we're going to use the drop-off flow. In this scenario, Boomi generates data, which it then wants to route to different target endpoints. We are using Thru's file filtering to achieve this. Again, we have a unique flow endpoint here for the drop-off. So this flow secret defines that the connector talks to this particular flow. So if we go back to Boomi and we look at the drop-off, here we can see we consume files from a location. But again, this could be from any of the connectors that they have in Boomi. These connectors could be generating data that then gets passed to Thru. But to keep it simple, we're just going to put multiple files on the disk. We're then going to drop them off to Thru, and then Thru will route them to the targets. Again, we can expose the details of the connection here. We can also expose the operation details, right? So in here is where that flow secret defines to talk to that unique flow, right? Which is obviously the drop-off flow, not the pickup flow. If we go back to Thru and we look at the targets, the files are going to get dropped off by Boomi. We're going to hold those files and then make them available for these different targets. Now, we're using some file name filtering to route particular files to particular partners or organizations. So if we look at partner 1, we can see we've got a filter here that they only want to receive files that have this prefix. Also, once the file comes in, we're going to rename the file from 001 to partner 1. We're going to add a timestamp and date. Partner 2, they're going to have files which are prefixed with this. So they'll only receive these type of files. And again, on the way out to partner 2, we're going to rename the file to partner 2 with a timestamp. Enterprise can also receive files, and instead of the include, they're going to use the exclude, right? So you could obviously have multiple partners having files delivered to, and having the include filters for each partner, and then have them excluded for all other files that need to go back to the enterprise for whatever reason in this particular integration use case. So we've got some files staged, and we're going to tell Boomi to push the files to Thru. So we've read the files from the source. Right, we can see there's 3 files that have been pulled from this source. One for partner 1, one for partner 2, and then a file specifically for the enterprise. We then drop off the files to Thru. We can see the files on the way out and the file codes that they get given for us to identify them uniquely. And then back in Thru, if we filter by the other flow just to make it clearer, we can see the files have come into the platform. We can see the 002 file has been made available only for partner 2 in a unique folder and renamed with a date timestamp. We can see the partner 1 file came in. It's been made available only to partner 1 and placed in a unique folder for partner 1, file name renamed as well with a date timestamp. Finally, the last file, which is for the enterprise, has also come in from Boomi and has been made available only to the enterprise organization. So with a simple drop-off from a single source, we've routed those files to 3 different targets.